Hey guys, if you're anything like me, you might wish to change your relationship with technology, but be stuck in this cycle where you try to make changes. You try to reduce the amount of time you're spending on technology, whether that's on your phone or on your TV or on your laptop. And you're good at it for like a few days, maybe. More likely you maybe manage a day, and then you fall off the wagon. And yeah, that's because technology is super duper duper addictive, or at least not technology itself, but the software like social media apps and etc etc. They're all super addictive. They're made to be addictive. So we can cut ourselves some slack in that regard. But the thing that I realized in my latest foray into changing the way in which I interact with technology in my life is that it's not good enough. Just if you want to change your relationship with technology, just to reduce the amount of technology you use, because your brain needs something else to replace it. So historically, when I've tried to reduce the amount of amount of time I spend on my phone, for example, I'll just go cold turkey and decide to turn my phone off for 6 hours, say. But I won't have thought what I want to do in those 6 hours instead. And it seems like, I don't know, maybe I just didn't think about it, but the thing is, I need to think about it because my brain has become so used to being fed information, it's not used to seeking out information and stimulation. Meaning, we're so used to being on social media apps where we literally have a feed, right? And yes, you curate your feed, but you're shown information. Whereas when you have 6 hours to yourself and there's nothing coming at you from a phone, you have to think about what you want to do with your time. And that can feel really daunting, especially if you've been addicted to technology for a while and you're used to being able to just distract yourself from that overwhelm and distract yourself from the boredom of not really knowing what to do with yourself. And so inevitably, without thinking about what else to do in those 6 hours before I cut down on technology, I would just like quote unquote fail at my challenge to myself, which was reducing the amount of time on my phone. The next day I'd just be like, well, this is ridiculous. I have no idea what to do. And go back on my phone, or it might be even more subconscious than that. I would just find myself breaking the rules and going back on my phone. I think it's really important to, if you want to do this and you actually want to make it like a lifestyle change, to think about and focus on what you're going to replace the time you spend on your phone with before you reduce the time you spend on your phone. So for example, for me, that was things like making art, journaling, writing, seeing my friends, walking my dog. There's actually a lot of things, I'm sure, that you will start to think of when you don't have the pressure of, oh my God, what am I going to do in the next 6 hours? It's just more creative and expansive than that. It's more like, if I ideally had more time in my life, what would I want to do with it? Start there. And that's where you can create a list of exciting, inspiring things that you actually want to try out, but you feel like you don't have time for right now. And then when you actually do start to cut down on your time spent on technology by creating rules around your technology use, you miraculously will find you have a lot more time and you have this list already ready to go. When you're twiddling your thumbs and you're like, this feels horrible, because guaranteed you will feel that way, at least for the first few days, if not first few weeks, you have a list of exciting things to go and try out and do. And I find that that not only distracted me, but it also meant that I was building up these interests and skills that I hadn't had before. My technology use has mostly been around my work, and it just meant I worked a lot all the time. And so carving out space and time away from technology means that time is like for me and my interests and my creative interests. And I'm actually spending time on those things now. And the really cool thing is that when you start to invest in that list of things that you made, and it doesn't have to be long, you could literally pick one thing, and I'm sure that would be enough to start off with. But I would say maybe pick like 2 or 3 things so that you can cycle between them and you don't get bored. The really cool thing is once you start doing those things consistently, it becomes easier to be consistent because you're investing in yourself. You're investing in understanding who you are, what you like, how you like spending your time. You're learning new things, and it becomes really rewarding and really exciting in a way that feels very different to the dopamine, the instant dopamine gratification of being on social media, in a good way. And so it becomes easier over time to get less distracted by technology, and the urge to go back to technology and to be distracted by it constantly gets less and less over time. I've been reading this book, Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport recently, as you know, if you've watched my previous videos, and there's one paragraph that I want to read you that I read, and I just wrote a note next to it saying, what else is important to you? He says, you have duties during the declutter. He talks about a social media declutter beyond following your technology rules. For this process to succeed, you must also spend this period trying to rediscover what's important to you and what you enjoy outside the world of the always on shiny digital. Figuring this out before you begin is important. He goes on to say, for many people, compulsive phone use papers over a void created by a lack of a well-developed leisure life. Ouch, but true. Reducing the easy distraction without also filling the void can make life unpleasantly stale, an outcome likely to undermine any transition to minimalism. Which is just spot on. It's so spot on, because this time, now that I have that list that I made of the 3 or 4 things that I do in my spare time, which changes over time. Like when you start doing this, you'll realize, wow, I actually have a lot of things I want to try, and it's okay to experiment with those things and to flip between them. Yeah, having those things to do and to fall back on when I'm bored has changed the game. Like honestly changed the game. So I would say right now, after you've watched this video, go get a scrap piece of paper. Doesn't have to be a new notebook, doesn't have to be a special place, literally just a scrap piece of paper, and just brainstorm the things that you would like to do more of in your life, and write a list, and then put that list somewhere you can see it every day, and make sure that you have the resources, tools, whatever the right word is, to do those activities. So if you want to start crocheting, for example, but you don't have crochet materials, get the crochet materials right now and put them somewhere you can see, so that when you have the urge to go on your phone, and you're meant to not be on your phone because you've set that personal boundary for yourself, you can see it visually and you know what you could be doing instead. And it doesn't make it easy. Like honestly, the feeling of being like, well, I could go on my phone or I could go and crochet will feel like crocheting, ugh. But just go do it. Just go do it. Like, go start, and I promise you that the process of starting will feel so much better than you anticipate, and over time it will be endlessly rewarding. I know I sound like a cheerleader for this, and maybe, who knows, maybe in the future I will just be like, what the hell was I talking about? Learning to crochet or learning to write or to make art or take photos, whatever it is sometimes not as rewarding as sitting in front of the TV, but most of the time, like 95% of the time, it actually is. And I think that's important to note, right? I don't think it's healthy for us to like be mean to ourselves about these experiments that we have in life. I see this current experiment that I have with technology as just that. It's an experiment. It's okay for things to change. Like I have noticed in the first few months of me looking at how I use technology and kind of reassessing how I want to live my life around technology, that there is a very clear week in the month where I am in my luteal phase and I'm super tired. I struggle a lot with even more with emotional regulation during that time, and I can get quite depressed, and it's just generally a really shit week of the month, most months. And in that time, I have so much less energy that it's a lot harder to reinforce what I'm talking about in this video. you know, the idea of not spending time on screens and choosing an activity outside of that that I know I love and I want to get better at or spend my time doing. Because let's face it, I just don't have the energy. All I feel I can do is literally lie in front of the TV. And so I'm starting to think, you know, that's okay. All or nothing is not necessarily the only way, and that there will be, you know, weeks of my month where this, you know, this version of me, the version that wants to not be on screens and would prefer to do something with my hands creatively, is in full swing. And then there'll be a week of the month where most likely I will be more inclined to fall back on screens. And that's okay too. You know, I'm trying to be, I tend to see things in a very all or nothing way. And so I'm trying to remind myself to just constantly, as I experiment with everything in life, be compassionate about the fact that we are not robots. And even if we tell ourselves this is the rule, you know, it's hard one to stick to rules, despite what people tell you, like online, you know, just these 3 easy steps, and it's so easy to make habits, but it's not for all of us. And I think it's important to not just like spend your life being mean to yourself about things you're experimenting with. So yeah, just keep that in mind if you choose to experiment with this stuff. And I think that it will be a much happier process. Yeah, okay. Thanks for listening. As ever, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments if you have any. And I want to thank everyone who has signed up to my newsletter from my last videos. I'm really overwhelmed by how many of you are actually going up to sign up for it. I really, 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 really appreciate it. And I'll look forward to talking to you in my next newsletter or my next video. Okay, catch you later. Bye.